Hi everyone, I'm Wade. Today we got a very special guest to share his insights with us. So could you please give us a little introduction about yourself?
Hello everyone, I'm Alex and I'm from now very famous country, unfortunately in a bad way. I'm from Russia. I've lived in Taiwan for 7 years already, but of course I've been in touch and was reading Russian news and I've been connected.
So what brought you to Taiwan?
Unfortunately, we'll have to jump on this political train right away, but in 2011 I was protesting against Putin and didn't agree with the regime. 2012 I was keep protesting and was election observer, and then I don't know, I didn't feel that the change could be made at that time, and I was very young and very curious. I just bought ticket one way. First went to Thailand.
Wow.
Okay, I was thinking probably after a couple of months I will come back.
Yeah,
but
just a
then
short trip.
I hitchhiked somewhere, went to Laos, Cambodia. It was like this ugly style backpacking.
Was it like a solo trip?
Yeah, of course.
Or you didn't go with anyone else?
I met some people on the way.
Yeah, okay, very cool.
At that time, this bar talk, hey, where do you come from, was way easier than now.
Yes, definitely.
After like a couple of years, I ended up in Taiwan and just decided that that's the place that perfectly suits me, and since then I've lived here. Yeah.
Can you tell us what is currently happening?
Russia used the pretext that Ukraine and NATO was weaponizing Ukraine against Russia, that it was been NATO expansion.
Right.
And also because that Ukraine was bombing Donbass and lots of people died, and to protect people there, Russia had to invade. Obviously, all these years, Ukraine was doing a huge army reform.
Yes.
They changed from kind of Soviet way of command to NATO way of command.
I see.
That's why they're logistically been performing so good recently.
Right.
But
because they are leaning towards more of a democracy, right?
Oh, about democracy, it's quite interesting. Okay. Ukrainians, they always had very strong identity.
Sure.
Actually, you know that Ukraine actually is older than Russia. You know, this Kiev and the Rus.
Yes, I believe back Soviet Union, right? Or even further than that?
No, I'm talking about 800.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We
so way
have
before when
the joke that when the Kiev and the Rus already been established as the government as a state, in the place where the Moscow now is, some tribes just been yelling on the forest. That's the only thing that we were doing.
Okay.
And Kiev already had the proper, we can say, government.
Established, yeah. Okay, so now that you're touching on a little bit of the history, can you share a little more of the generic history between Ukraine and Russia?
All right, I'm not a historian, so please don't kill me after you check the Wikipedia article after all of that. But, all right.
To your knowledge.
Yeah, from the moment when Kiev was the capital and people in Moscow was yelling in the forest, we are going to jump into the Soviet Union. The western part of Ukraine was a part of Molotov-Ribbentrop Act, like Stalin's Soviet Union and Nazi Germany's.
Yes.
They decided to invade the Poland from both sides and kind of split it, and part of the Polish territories went to Ukraine.
Okay.
And that's a part of it. For example, the biggest thing is Crimea.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna touch it because it's very important and very interesting.
Yeah.
I find it's very interesting.
Yes, it is interesting.
The population, the people who live there, they're mostly been ethnically Russians.
Yes.
And a little bit some portion of Tartars, Turkish.
Okay.
Because before it was Turkish territory, but before that it's been Turkish territory, it's been the Greek territory.
Okay.
So when they starting the beef, who's Crimea, it's Greek.
Actually, okay.
So I already mentioned that Ukrainians, they have own identity.
Yes.
But still, there is more Western Ukraine and Eastern Ukraine. It's a little different, and let's say even presidents that came from different regions, they become more pro-European or against.
Okay, so it's still kind of two-sided.
At least it was before, because now the President Zelensky is forging the nation. It's like, anyway.
Putin has given them a reason to unite, right?
It's like anvil and the hammer.
Yeah.
They're just forging the new nation right away. To be honest, despite, the war is cruel, it's terrible, of course, but Putin made more for Ukrainian nation idea than any other Ukrainian leader.
Yeah, for sure. He united the people.
To be honest, I believe that Xi Jinping made more for Taiwanese identity than any Taiwanese leader as well.
Sure. When there's an opposition, you gather, right?
It's a big opposition. It's nobody likes the bullies,
Exactly.
You're just okay, that's
We're
a bully.
let's put things aside and let's work together.
Yeah. Ukrainian president Vladimir Zelensky.
Yes.
He's Jewish, Politically, he has to speak Ukrainian.
Yeah.
But then, like, he's like interviewing at home, and he's like one of his dogs came.
Okay.
And he was talking to dog in Russian. So it means his language at home is Russian,
it's actually
right?
Russian, yeah. Well, what do you think about him in general? Now that we touched on him.
Interestingly enough, Ukrainians really supported him at the beginning.
Yes.
It means first time in history of Ukrainian parliament he got the majority. Before, parliament was like sliced like pizza. They never had like unity.
Yeah.
They never had one party lead.
Wow.
So he had enough power to actually enact any laws he wanted.
I see.
First time.
Yeah.
And, Ukraine was famous as being like a corrupt oligarchy country.
Yes.
Let's say, like, I don't know, Russia is like authoritarian. Now it's totalitarian, but it was authoritarian regime, kind of more vertical.
Yes.
And Ukraine was more like oligarch. So in Russia's police state, Ukraine is oligarch state.
Gotcha.
And he was, for long years, he was counted as one of the puppets of one of the oligarchs.
Yeah.
And in a couple of years, he just introduced the law that doesn't allow oligarchs, if you have like more than a certain amount of wealth, you cannot own media.
Wow.
So you cannot influence.
Yeah, not control.
And I was like, whoa,
Wow,
that's what
move.
the puppet would do. Definitely not, right?
Anyway, getting back to more on maybe President Putin's side. I believe Putin wrote some statements and he talked about the one people idea. Is that his main motivation, in that like he believes that Ukrainians as well as Russian are all part of the one people, siblings, you share the same border, right?
Yeah, of course.
I'm sure you have family members or even friends that you know of that are on both sides. And so is it that kind of romantic idea where he's trying to like bring back Ukraine to be a part of this, or
it's
not really?
Way more complicated.
Okay.
Because the Russian current establishment came out from the Soviet era.
Yes.
He and like people of his circle many times admitted that the biggest regret, the biggest geopolitical catastrophe is the fall of the Soviet Union.
Exactly.
You know that since the COVID started, we call him Bunker Grandpa.
Bunkered grandpa? Because he's hiding?
Because he's always in a bunker.
Oh, really?
And
I mean, if I were him, I would probably also.
No, during the COVID, all 2 years.
Oh, also during COVID time?
All 2 years.
Wow.
So
just to avoid getting COVID? Is
yes.
that?
Even the highest people in his government, they could not see him until they do 2 weeks quarantine.
Wow.
Reportedly, they built a secret tunnel with lots of sanitizer. So if you walk, it's like a mile. Yes. First of all, it's kind of paranoid, right?
Sure.
So imagine you're sitting in this bunker for like a couple of years.
Yeah. Wow.
And you read history books, because he recently been into that. Problem is, it was said somewhere, like leaked, that probably he reads like 50 books a year and stuff like that.
Wow. I mean, readers are leaders. That's what they say.
The problem is, Russia doesn't have so many good history books.
Oh, okay.
Sure. So
even the source, right? The source of where you're getting
yes,
this stuff from.
And I'm afraid he read some very weird
that
stuff.
gave him some ideas.
As well. And also, we have like, let's say, I don't know, we believe we have like 3 Putin, or at least 2 Putin. First Putin that got in power, there was a speech in Greek university. He got like honored doctor of economy or something like that.
Okay.
Because Russia was growing, it was like China growth pace.
Oh,
oil was going up, it was 8% a year. He made a speech like how economists and lawyers, how they're shaping the country. So he was really down to earth, economy, reforms. Yeah. So second Putin is like where like it changed.
Yes.
It's 2007. It's the speech in Munich.
Okay.
It's like he addressed to NATO and West, and this speech, I think that's like part of it, what's going on like in Ukraine, because it's a huge resentment. He was expecting that, okay, after West won this Cold War, that Russia will be welcomed. Because, okay, we lost, let be us part.
Yeah, let us join.
And West was very cold. Of course, if we actually check, step by step, every provisions, West did a lot to Russia, and but still, the image, or probably what he thought, So this Munich speech, it's I think where everything changed, 2007, and then I think he more switched into a glorification of nation. It ended up by faking Sochi Olympics, 2014, and after that, I think the Putin who is making history, that's right the new star,
Wow.
road. Yeah.
He's definitely going down in the history books. But Let's talk a little bit about this, right? Like, what do you think is his end goal? I mean, because by the looks of it, I'm assuming, and what most reportings was saying, that like Putin probably expected that this war was going to happen like that. It was going to be done. But then now it's being stretched out, and the world has taken a stance with sanctions and all these different things. Is there a way out? Like, what's the best scenario for him, for Putin?
Okay, I think somehow he wants to go back to Cold War era. It's like Yalta and Potsdam, when the big leaders met and they decided, okay, you rule here, I rule there. So he's bringing back this idea of Cold War, and he says, I have nukes, negotiate with me.
Yes.
Like, at any cost.
Right.
It's like, I don't care about economy.
Right.
Like, it's now rally behind one flag,
Yeah.
so he wants, obviously, West to negotiate, but also he expected, Ukrainians, that Ukrainians cannot fight or something like that.
Yeah. Thank you for tuning in to part 1 of our conversation. Stay tuned for part 2 as we discuss how Putin doesn't use the internet, Russia propaganda, local Russia consensus, and more.